Hey everyone, okay, I got such great feedback on the Freestyle Q+A last week. I'm literally going to do another one. Just a couple of questions. My head of operations, Emma's behind the camera here. She's got questions that she's going to ask that people have been sending during the week. Barry's here, he's going to prompt me with some ideas, particularly some of the topics we're going to cover today, like the average of the 5 people you hang around with, starting a business, getting the courage to do that. Don't let fear stop you, because some of it's pretty fresh to Barry. So he's going to be able to help me along the lines, and I'm going to just go off in different directions with things. Again, people liked the realness of the Freestyle Q+A last week, so we just literally went off and you know, had a discussion. Literally how our conversations go. You know, Barry and Emma are over here every day. You know, because Emma's doing my head of operations and I'm helping Barry with his business. That they're literally over here every day, and our conversations are, there's been times when we're like, fuck, we should have recorded that because that would have helped other people. So we're going to literally just roll with it today. So the first topic we're going to cover is the average of the 5 people you hang around with. So I've talked about this. This is going to be a little bit different to some of the other stuff I do on, say, Snapchat, which is like questions and answers, nutrition, fitness, diet, supplements, things like that. We're going to go a little bit more lifestyle with this because that seems to be what the feedback was so good last week. So I've talked about it before. You're the average of the 5 people you hang around with. You know, you're a walking example of that, because Barry went from in the transition to making into a full-time personal trainer and doing that with his job now, because you know, 2 of his best mates are me and Paul, who's my head trainer. His partner is Emma, who's doing my head of operations. And when you surround yourself with successful people and people that are doing well, some of that relates and comes off through osmosis. You know, some people it's faster than others, some it's slow, but the reality is the average, you're going to be the average of the 5 people you hang around with. If you're hanging around with 5 people that do something, you're probably going to become the 6th. You know, and I know this myself as somebody that went through the normal, like, traditional 9 to 5, working as a teacher. I hung out with teachers. All we did was teach. We used to go out at weekends. We were weekend warriors. That's what we did, because that's what my network did. So you're going to do whatever your network does. You know, it's if you have 5 friends who are always out drinking, you're probably going to be the 6th that goes out drinking. If you've got 5 friends that you always hang around with and they're going to the gym every day, you're probably going to go to the gym every day. That's the effect that those 5 people have. You know, and that goes in every realm. You know, you have control on who you spend your time with. You know, there's very few things in life that you have control of, but you have control of that. They say you can't choose your family, but the reality is you have a little bit of choice with what you let into your brain and what you let into your mind in terms of family that are negative. And I've talked about this in other videos, how I've had people, with the exception of my mum, who's my biggest fan, that didn't support my journey. And it's easy when you're out the other side. Now, and I talked about that last week, how I got a lot of hate when I made the transition into my own business and my own thing that I'm doing now, where my Brian Key Fitness, where there's people that I've employed, and there's been things that I've done, and there's a branch of it now which is quote unquote success, and people have changed their opinion in my family. They're like, oh, I knew you'd do it, and I'm like, you didn't, because you said you were stupid when you made the transition first, you know. And you get that now, because you're literally making that little jump over now in terms of going from working full time into trying to start your own business and getting that off the ground. That's fucking scary.
You realise how important time is.
Yeah.
So you don't have time to be wasting doing something with certain people. And that's fine. It doesn't mean you block out people completely, like you said. They're still there, but it just means you don't have as much time with them.
Yeah.
You know, you can spend your time doing other things.
You take control of that time.
Yeah.
You know, like the reality is, if you can do an 80-20 rule on it, like if you've got, because you know, if you're a little bit self-aware, like you can literally have a think and go, that friend's not supporting what I'm doing, you know? Like I'm reading Mahatma Gandhi's book at the minute, and he was talking about when he was a teenager, how he hung around with this he was a really bad teenager, like he was a little wanker, like, you know, he was a blackguard, like, and it's a great story, like I'm about halfway through his book. And he was talking about when he was 16, he hung around with this guy that, like in India, you know, they don't eat meat. He was Hindu, and they were like, you don't eat meat. His whole family were like, you don't eat meat, the sacred animals and stuff like that. And he had this friend that was like, well, everyone in the world is strong that eats meat. And he would constantly hammer this into him. And he was like, he used to tell his family, going, no, my bad friend, I'm going to bring him round. I'm going to make him better, but it went the other fucking way. You're like, it's easier to go on a bad path than a good path, you know? And he talked about that, and it's funny because it prompted some of this, that it doesn't matter how you're talking about Mahatma fucking Gandhi, like one of the most influential people in the last fucking 200 years, got thrown off whack in his teenage years because bad will outweigh good every single time. Like if you've got
principle applies
today. Like this is why I fucking love like philosophy and love reading about people that have been around the last couple of 100 years, because human nature doesn't fucking change. Like society changes, technology changes, human nature stays the fucking same. Like I've read, and I put screenshots on my Snapchat, BrianK019, of like Seneca and Plato, like where they'll put up something that is like, don't let material things, or you know, when you're tied to wealth and tied to status, that you're going to be miserable in your life. Holy fuck, like that's more applicable now than that ever has been. You know, like, and that was Seneca was written what 2,000 years ago. Like, holy, like that's the same. People are the same. You know. People don't change. Societies change, culture changes, technology changes, but people stay the same, you know? And that whole average of the 5 people you hang around with, that was true with Mahatma Gandhi in the 1890s. It's true now, you know? And like, you have control of that. Sometimes just being aware that the people around you are influencing you and what you do can be enough to make that decision. Like, I've cut people out of my life, and like, when I say cut people, I still have really close friends who are doing different things, who I still spend time with, but they're probably not the majority, partly because they're not supporting what I'm doing, and some of it's a time thing, you know, like, but they're still your best and closest friends, but you're just like, I can't spend 80% of my time with you because you're happy here and I want to be here, you know, and there's nothing wrong with being happy here. And I say, if you're fucking happy here and you're doing a 9 to 5, or you're cleaning the street or whatever it is, and you're happy with your life, fucking stay there. Like, you're doing what 99.9% of people are searching for. No, and judging them would be envious. Like, because the reality is, there are people that are like at a certain level and they work their 9 to 5 and they do their normal life and go out at weekends and they're happy. Those people, I'm like, fuck, you've nailed life. You've done it right. You know, it's the people that when you complain about it and you're not happy, you have the ability to change that. They don't do something, and you have the ability to change that. You know, everybody has the ability to change that. Like, that's the biggest thing. And people think, and I'm going to ask you in a second now because you made the jump, people think that you're stuck, you know. They'll think that something happens in life and their job or somebody will break up with you or something will happen and you're stuck, like that they can't get out of it. When the reality is, you can change anything at a moment's fucking notice. Like, it's amazing. And that's very, very liberating as a feeling, because you're not letting fear consume you. I did a blog post about fear that's going into my book that'll be out early next year, and I was talking about everybody has fear. You know, like Alexander the Great has a quote that's like, you know, everybody feels fear, he just doesn't let it take over him. You know, Schwarzenegger was, you can't let fear paralyze you. You know, and I get that, because the reality is everybody feels fear, you know, and you've said it, and other people have said it when they look at me or they look at somebody that's quote unquote successful, subjective term. Find out what success means for you. Success for me means I can pay my bills, I can pay my mortgage, I can put food in my daughter's mouth, and I have time to spend with her. That's what success means to me. You know, I have it on my whiteboard up in my room. Like, that's what success means to me. For somebody else, it might be a big car and a big house, but that's not what success means to me. It's a subjective term, you know. But find what success means to you and then work towards it, and don't let the fear stop you, because the reality is everybody feels the fear. The only difference is the people that are quote unquote successful is they don't let the fear stop them. You know, you channel it. I've talked about energy. Like, energy's never lost. Like, energy's transferred. Like, fear is an amazing thing to have because it's a fucking great driver. Like, you know, if you can channel fear and channel any kind of negative feeling, you can't lose energy. You know, energy is a fucking thing that's out there in the universe. You can't lose it. All you can do is rechannel it. You know, I've talked about it before, like sexual transmutation, where people with high levels of sexual energy are able to transfer it and put it into business or put it into relationships or whatever it is. And it's true. Like, I've read studies on like your Bill Clintons, your people that are pretty successful in what they did, and how they were very highly sexed people because they transmutated their sexual energy. But that same thing goes with fear, because fear is an energy that consumes your body. If you can rechannel that, it's a powerful tool to use, you know. But you've made that jump from working more or less full time to now transitioning out. What made you? What was the pinning? Did you wake up one morning and decide, you know what, I'm going to try this thing as a personal trainer? Or was it something that ate at you for weeks or months or years? Or what was it? Why did you do it?
After a while, you just realise you've nothing to lose.
Yeah.
I mean, if you stay in the same spot, giving out or saying, oh, I might do this, or I might do that down the way. You might and you mightn't, but at least you've nothing to lose doing it now, you know? So it was just a matter of like, what's stopping you from doing it now? Why tomorrow? Go for it. Yeah. You're only going to find out one way. It mightn't be for you. You might fail, but at least then you'll know it wasn't for you. And you've always said that to me. You've said, like, you've got nothing to lose by trying it. it mightn't work out, but at the same time you'll find out.
Yeah, and the irony, and this is what I always tell people, because this is my life philosophy, that one of two things will happen. You know, if you quit, and I did this because I did the same. I left teaching and I went in and started my own business, and now I have what I call a non-job, which is like where my life and my business is one and the same, and I love what I do. But the reality is, one of two things was going to happen. It was either going to work, or it wasn't going to work, and then I would never have spent the rest of my life thinking, what if? Why didn't I do that? You know, one of two things was going to happen. When you think about it and you're self-aware enough to have a step back and have a think, that one of two things were going to happen. It was either going to be successful and work, or it wasn't, and then I would have known it wasn't going to work, and it wasn't my path. You know, I had a conversation last night with a really close friend of mine who came over. He's setting up his business, and he's going into that app market, and he was coming over, picking my brain and getting ideas with his business plan. And I was telling them about how your life path changes. You know, when I've talked about this before in blog posts and videos, how your path will change and it'll unwind as you go along. You know, there was a time, not that long ago, like 18 months ago, when I would have said, my goal is to go to the top of the fitness model world, to be the top guy and competitor, to do whatever it took to do that. And there was a time, if you hadn't, because you knew me 18 months ago, I had the drive that I have now. It was just channeled in a different direction. It was I'm going to the fucking top of the world. I'm going to be the best at this. You know, the reality is, and I talked about this before, and I talked about it with my friend last night, that my path changed. You know, my lifestyle at that time was very different to how it is now. My mindset was very different. I had, and I still do, I have an all or nothing attitude towards fucking everything. It's why when I go into something, I'm able to make it a success, because I don't do things half-assed, I do them full whack. But that can be dangerous. Like, I was living a lifestyle that wasn't congruent with health, it wasn't congruent with family, it wasn't congruent with things that...
It was like tunnel vision.
It was tunnel vision, and you're fucking selfish. Like, you know, I was the one that I wasn't even thinking about other people. The reality is, and I will do, and I'll talk about this in 5-10 years time, when I'll come back and be like, my daughter saved my life. Like, she's the reason that I now live the life that I live, that I don't do the shit that I was doing, that I'm not putting fucking any shit into my body that was affecting my health, that I wasn't focusing my mind on things that weren't productive. All of that changed when she came, because the reality is, and I've talked about this in a blog post, and it's a chapter in my book, that I've talked about, I had a vision. Like, the reality is, I lived that prep lifestyle, and because I don't do anything by halves, I was training 4 or 5 hours a day, I was eating calories, and I was doing everything that needed to be done to be the best at that sport, or sport, quote unquote sport, like fitness modeling, bodybuilding, muscle modeling, whatever you want to label it. You know, I was doing everything that had to be done to do that. And I had a vision of my little girl coming up to me when I was lying on a couch 2 weeks from a show with no energy to play with her, and be like, what's wrong with daddy? Why won't he play with me? You know, I had another fucking vision where I'm sitting in a fucking hospital bed because I've been pushing the limits with fucking lifestyle and constantly putting my body into a state of stress and a state of cortisol, and lying in a fucking hospital bed in 12 years time with an 11 or 12-year-old girl going, why are you sick, daddy? And I'm handing her trophies going, daddy's the best in the world. Like, that shit is eye-opening. You know, when that comes across, that will change your whole direction. My entire path changed with that, because my whole lifestyle, and you'll know, because if you've been following me from the beginning, you know that it went very kind of competitor lifestyle, doing this, to holistic, be healthy, be happy, do your thing, and it merged, and that was why. That was my turning point. Like, we have turning points in life, you know, and I would have told you 2 years ago that I'm going to the fucking top of the fitness model world. I'm going to be the very best at that, you know, and I did, and I hit goals, I got pro cards, I competed on the world stage, I was in Vegas, I did all of these things that...
Was there a moment actually like that, or like those two visions where you were kind of like, hold on a second?
One, and it was the same question that my friend asked me last night. He was like, he goes, how did you know? He goes, was it an overnight thing, or did it happen gradually? It was an overnight. It happened overnight. That vision came into my head about lying in a hospital bed in 11, 12 years time, handing my daughter trophies, saying, yeah, here, daddy's the best in the world. Like, how do you explain that to an 11 or 12-year-old girl? Like, and that's empowering. And it was literally like, overnight, I was like, that's it, not doing a prep again. I was like, that's it, I'm out of that lifestyle, I'm out of that area, I'm out of that whole thing. I've largely washed my hands of that whole side of it, you know, in terms of the fitness industry, and there's nothing wrong with it, because I love the person that competing makes you come out as a stronger person out the other side. You know, there's some great people in the sport, there's some not so great people in it, but there's a lot of amazing people.
Was it hard to come from like 100 miles an hour down, or?
No, it re-channeled into business, literally, and it did. My business went from, doing well to thriving nearly overnight, because I'm very fortunate in terms of my genetic makeup. I have a lot of energy, I have a lot of vitality, I do all the things that support that, but I had that energy and I just rechanneled it into my business. And I say I rechanneled it into my business, I rechanneled it into fucking helping people, and my business grew as a result. Like, the reality is, my focus was never to earn 6-7 figures or whatever it is that you're striving for in business. It was like, well, how many people can I help? Like, and my business grew as a result of that.
Like,
and
Tony Robbins always talks about that.
he talks about that. It's the reciprocity, the law of reciprocity, and it's fucking true. Like, the reality is, you can get whatever you want in life if you help people get whatever they want, you know? And I put out more content than anybody. Like, I put up 7 blog posts a fucking week. I put up 5 or 6 videos. I do a Snapchat Q&A Monday to fucking Saturday, you know? Like, I get up at 6 or 7 a.m. while Holly's asleep, you know, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and do those Q&As and I put out more fucking content than anybody to help, because there was a time when I would have killed for this stuff. Like, because I didn't know where to look. I made every fucking mistake. You know, I'm training 15 years. I made every mistake there was to make, and I had nobody to help. And that's why I do it. The irony is, your business will thrive because of that, you know. But for me, that's what it's always been about. You know, it's obviously amazing to have a nice house and a new car and all of these things. To me, that's not what success is. I told you that. It's literally written on my whiteboard upstairs. My success is when I can pay my bills and pay my mortgage, and I can put food in my daughter's mouth. Because there was a time when that was a struggle. Like, when I was teaching, when I was in college, like, particularly when I started teaching first, because I was living in London, just above minimum wage, like, I had no fucking money, and it was like, shit, will I make my rent this month? Like, there was a time when, you know...
That was the whole fear.
That was the fear. There was a time when you were afraid you wouldn't be able to pay your fucking rent. Now, like, that's my version of success. I'm like, if I don't have to worry about paying bills, and I don't have to worry about paying my mortgage, and I can put food on the table and put food in my daughter's mouth, that's success. And that's easy, because that's in my control, you know? Like, my success isn't based on, can I get a new car next year, you know? Or can I buy another house, or whatever it is, you know? Those things may happen, but they're not the determinant of success, you know? Some people have this, and you got to determine what's your version of success. Like, because people set the bar too high, which is fine. Set your bar high, but don't make your happiness the reason for hitting those targets on your success. Like, set your bar. Like, I've got massive goals. Like, you know, I've got my 5 and 10 year goals would scare people and would have scared me 5 years ago. So I'm like, fuck, you can't do that.
They're almost unrealistic.
But they should be unrealistic.
The bar, yeah.
The bar should be fucking high. You know, I have the philosophy, you aim for the moon, you hit the stars. Like, you fucking aim big, and it's funny because people will say things and they'll be like, oh, it's amazing you did that. And I'm like, oh yeah, but I wanted to do this, you know. But you can also become detached from those things because they're not your version of success. If I held my version of success to getting a new car every year, investing in another house or whatever it is, that sets the bar too high, and it's things that are out of my control, you know. I can control putting enough, having food on my table, and also a version of my success is having enough time that I can spend it with my little girl. And I'm like, if I need to be able, like, my goal, like a year ago, 18 months ago, when I changed the path, was I want to be able to go to school plays. I want to be able to do these things. That was my version of success, and setting up a lifestyle in congruency with that, you know. And it will be, and that's true, because the reality is I get up at 5 a.m. You know, if I need to do shit, I'll get up earlier. You know, and then I can go do, and I'll be free at 11 a.m. to go to a school play, or God forbid, have to take Holly to the doctor or whatever it is. That is my version of success. They are things within my control, and the reason probably, and I'm not saying it to people like, well, I'm really happy, be happy. Like, the reason I'm so happy, and I am, and I love my fucking life, is because these things are in my control. You know, the harder I work, the more people I help, the more money I make, which means I can put a roof over my head and never worry about it, and it means that I can do things that within my own time, and I can get up at 4:30 or 5 a.m., do my work, you know, and get all of that stuff done, and then be ready. Like, I get up at, you know, 5, 6 a.m. on a Friday while Holly's sleeping till 9, you know, I'll get 4 hours of work done, you know, like I'll have fucking, you know, 2 blog posts written, maybe a podcast recorded, and then Holly gets up and we watch Peppa Pig in the morning. Like, and that's the thing that happens every single morning. That is success to me. You know, but you got to determine what it is for you and make sure it's something in your control. You know, have your bar high, but don't tie your success to the bar being high. You know, because then you're going to be, that's when people get unhappy. And that's when people make bad decisions. Like, you make bad decisions when you do shit for money. Like, you know, when money's the deciding factor, like it's an amazing slave, terrible fucking master. Like, because people rule for money and live for it, you know. And when you make decisions based on that, like you think about anybody that you've ever worked with or any decision you ever made that was based on money, there's a good chance that you look back and go, I did that because of the money, you know. And that's when you make bad decisions. We've all done it. I've fucking done it, you know. And it's not until you made the fucking mistake and made something that you went, oh my god.
But you learn from it.
But you learn. You know, that's the difference. Like the reality is there's no failure in life, you know. Like, and I've talked about it in blog posts and it's a part of my book. There's no failure. How you see it, you know, Seneca, one of my favorite quotes is, there's nothing either good or bad, thinking makes it so. Like, because everything is a perspective on how you see it. You know, failure is a perspective. Failure is something that happens, not something you are. Like, people have this tie where it's like, I'm a fucking failure. I didn't do what I said I was going to do. I was like, you're not though. What you did may have been a failure, and that's perspective. Because the reality is, if you learn from that, you're probably going to be a better person on the other side.
Yeah, the winner you learn.
Yeah, you win and you learn. You win and you learn. You know, there are no failures, only outcomes. Like, that's the truth. You know, in everything. Like, I've made references about shows that I've done, business decisions I've made. Like, have I told you the story about the $5,000 I blew in London when I started my business first?
Yeah.
Like, and I don't think I've shared that on social media. Like, where when I started my business first, because it's so funny, because people look now and they see the tip of the iceberg. Like, they'll see a new car, nice house, thriving business, people doing well, and they're like, yeah, and I think they can't see that fucking 4 years ago I blew $5,000 in 3 months in London, and $5,000 to me at the time may as well have been €1 million fucking euro. You know, my mum and dad gave me $5,000 to start my personal training business, and I fucking blew it in 3 months. I rented a gym, I was paying my rent in my house in London, blew through the whole thing in 3 months, and it's a very humbling experience when you're 24 years of age, digging through your couch for fucking pennies and cash. You know, that's humbling. Like, you know, that shit will give you a drive. You don't want to get up at fucking 5 a.m? Try that fucking happening in your life.
That's the fear you talked about.
The fear.
Like,
but channels. Yeah. And there's a contrast. You've got cognitive bias in your brain, 25 cognitive bias, you've contrast bias, like where you have a reference point. That's my reference point, you know? The reality is my why is, Holly's my why. My photo of Holly I look at every day is my why, but I've got a contrast bias of a time when I had no fucking money. Like, when I was going through, at 24 years of age, when you're supposed to know what you're doing and supposed to quote unquote have made it, like, I was teaching, I just set up my own business, I quit teaching and moved into it, blew through the whole thing. Like, you know, that shit's fucking humbling. You know, it's why I'm so good with money now, because I had to be. You know, it's why I tell people, I'm like, do your numbers, make your numbers fucking good. You know, if you want to rent a gym or do whatever it is, do your fucking numbers, because I didn't. You know, I didn't, and then I have to fucking, you know, it's a hard, because I had good friends in London, but I know that I could turn to, and I'm like, can I borrow €500 or £500? I didn't have any of those friends, you know, like, the reality is that even the friends I have didn't have that, because they were teachers. Like, you know, teachers don't have that kind of money because we're fucking broke, because the money it's shit anyways, you know, but it's very, very humbling, but it's contrast bias, you know, it's using the fear. And that fear will drive me to this day. That was 4 or 5 years ago. Like, that fear's still there. It's still contrast bias. It's still something to think about, you know. And I come back to it in times when you don't want to get up at 5 a.m. or you don't want to put in the work, you don't want to do this. You've got fucking fear, because the reality is not about me anymore. Like, you know, those selfish days are gone. Like, you know, every decision now is about me and my daughter. Like, there's two people. Like, I can't make those decisions now. I can't be reckless now. You know, like, that was fine at 24 when you had no children or anything like that, and you can make the mistakes, and you should make the fuck-ups because you learn from them. You know, that money's came back to me fucking 10, 20 times because I learned from it, you know, and I was depressed at the time. I was down, I disappointed my parents, I couldn't go back to them for money, like, you know, it was one of those things. It was really depressing time, you know, but you learn from it, and you come out the other side, because the reality is, this is why I love contest preps, because it's a contrast bias. Like, the hard shit, like, you know, the fucking diamonds are formed from pressure. Like, you know, that's literally, and that's how I felt. You know, it was a case that I had so much pressure that I was able to conform into a diamond, quote unquote, in my head, because I was able to use it, you know, and use that pressure to become a better person first, you know. So that's kind of something that kind of gives a gauge on that. I don't know what we're like for time on that, on how are we for time, you know.
24 minutes.
3-4 minutes, okay. I'm going to roll it with that because I've completely talked for 24 minutes straight. So hopefully this helps a couple of you. Any feedback on these videos would be amazing, guys. just because they're new. The feedback from last week's Freestyle Q&A was amazing. People liked the realness, they liked just the freestyle with it. So any comments, put them down below. If you're not following my Snapchat, BrianK019, I open it up for Q&A, so any fitness questions, nutrition, diet, check out my Snapchat. You're probably on my YouTube and Facebook now if you're watching this video. Check out Barry on O'Sullivan Fitness on Facebook. O'Sullivan Fitness on Facebook. He's bashing out content there with blogs. He put up one today about cravings. Go check that out. Thanks for watching. Catch you soon.